Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session with us. We are excited to be back for the second of 3 sessions this month to answer all of your questions. I'm Maria, the marketing manager at GHY, and of course, I'll be moderating today's session alongside with our CARM expert, Sarah Marcotte, our CARM and Special Projects Manager. So we'll begin today with some important information on recent changes with CARM, key details to help you prepare for the importer financial security requirement coming up in April, and provide other value-added opportunities to take advantage of. And then we'll proceed to move into the Q&A session to address as many of your questions as possible. And as always, here's how we'll manage the questions during the Q&A to keep things a little bit organized. So first, we encourage you to ask your questions live. Please use the raise hand feature by navigating to the top of your Teams window there to the meeting controls area and select that little hand icon. So we'll call on people in the order that the hands were raised. Once we call on you, please turn your microphone on to ask your question, then turn it off again when we either have completed asking your question or after you've asked your question, have nothing further to add. If you prefer not to speak live, that's okay. You can type your question into the Q&A section, and we will alternate between live questions and those in the chat, making sure to address everyone in turn as best as possible. So after the session concludes, as always, we will be sending links to the access of this recording and alongside with some other resources. So without further delay, I will hand it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Maria, and welcome everybody to our second session in 2025. We'll keep the session very much the same as the first, and our main goal today is to just provide you guys the opportunity to ask questions about the Release Prior to Payment program and the requirements for a bond. I will just give you a quick overview of how you find that requirement. So that's one of the main questions is how do I know what is expected of me? And how do I know if I have a bond or not? So let's start with sharing here. So Al Dewar has been so kind as to let us use his account. So we will go through his. This will be the main screen that you see when you log into the CARM client portal, and you just go over to financial information and financial security. If this tab is not here, it means that you do not have the proper delegation to be able to see this tab, so you wouldn't be a BAM. In here, it's going to give you just a little bit of some information on the terms as well as some memos in regards to the financial security requirement. Financial security agreement is the same thing as a bond. CBSA has just renamed it to encompass other options as well. When you scroll down, you'll see an area that gives you what your total security requirement is. So this is what was calculated by CBSA. And then in here, this current security coverage will tell you how much coverage you currently have. CBSA's calculation is based off of the last year of importing, and they base it on their fiscal year. So July 2023 to July 2024. And they find the highest month, and that is what they are providing you as that posted amount. If you do have a bond and you're not too sure about it, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom. This is where your bond lists are, and you will see your bonds in here. As you can see, there isn't a bond, but he has one. Well, he has a cash bond. So these are always going to come in. It's always going to start as your non-cash. So if there's anything in here, those would be written security agreements that you probably have with a surety company. And over here, a cash bond would be something that you would yourself do directly in the portal. Let's start there and see if maybe anybody has any questions on a little more about posting bonds or how to obtain a bond, how we can help with that.
Sure, Sarah. We've got one that's come in from James. I'm just gonna share my screen here so everybody can see the question. Okay, so do we know if tariffs are going to be paid to CBSA at the time of clearing the border? If so, is there going to be a new column in the statement of account?
So tariffs, or in Canada, we call them surtax. A surtax is a form of tax or duty. So on your CAD, or your commercial accounting declaration, it will break it out by line what your surtax charge is in the CAD. I apologize, I don't have one I can pull up to show you, but in the CAD, it will break down your duties, your taxes, your excise taxes, your excise duties, your surtax, your safeguards, and I think that's pretty much all of them. SEMA, your dumping and countervailing. Those are all different taxes or duties, and those are all separated there. As for on the invoice or what is supplied by GHY, those are rolled into your duties and taxes because that's what they are. As for the start of the question, your tariffs are declared at the same time we declare everything else. So when we know what the goods are, based on the classification of the goods and the country of origin of those goods would be when we would assess any duties or taxes, which includes your tariffs or surtax.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, James, for the question. We've got one in from Amanda. Can one bond be applied to more than one RM extension?
So this was originally advised by CBSA that this could be done, and was promoted in all of their webinars and so forth. But to date, this is not actually an ability of a surety company to CBSA, nor is there a location that you can even do that internally. So at this time, I'm going to have to say, based on my understanding, we cannot, even though CBSA has advised it, that you can. I was in the webinar today that CBSA had posted on RPP, and I don't recall seeing this, but I have to admit I was a little distracted while listening.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Great question, Amanda. We've got one in from Christensen. Do you know why they include GST on electricity in their security bond calculation? It is not a tangible item. Manitoba Hydro self-assesses on our GST on utilities, so we don't understand why this would be included. 90% of our monthly amounts are due to GST on electricity.
So GST is applicable on any good that is imported into Canada. So when you do import electricity into Canada, you do pay GST on that product. So even though it's not a tangible item, the GST is still assessed against it. Yes, you do self-assess the GST. However, it is still paid to the government and is therefore still, a bond is still required to support that good that is coming into Canada.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we're just waiting for some more questions to come in. Do you think it'd be a good idea to maybe pull up a CAD and look at an example? I think I can access one.
Problem with the CAD is I should be able to find this one.
Sure, see if I can navigate there while you're looking and while we're waiting for any more questions to
I
come
can
in.
pull up the exceptions one, which would be what you would fill out if it was needing to be manual. So it's going to look a little bit different than the online one, but should
Ah,
still.
gotcha.
And that would
Yeah,
be one that I think we'd made up. So
yeah,
this one will work. Yeah. So this
great.
would be one that we kind of made a dummy entry just to be able to use. So if you can scroll down,
Sure.
this is your, oh, sorry, scroll up a bit.
Okay.
This is your first page and it's going to be your summary. So CBSA also will move everything together. So you're going to have some items that are split out. You can see anti-dumping, countervailing, surtax, safeguards. So those will be all split out individually. So in the section 126, that's where you would see the specific surtax charges to that entry. And then if we scroll down, in here, you would then be able to see under number 87, or sorry, 80, 87 is or 85. Number 85 will be your line by line if there's surtax on each line. That's where you would be able to view it per product.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so we're just waiting for some more questions. Just monitoring the Q&A in the chat here. Sarah, is there anything else? Oh, here we go. Just one second here. We've got one in from Denise. I will get it up on our question board here. Give me one moment. Okay, here we go. So if the 25% tariff pushes us beyond our bond limit, do we need to get a new bond, or can we make an interim payment on our account to bring the amount owing down?
Great question. And really, it would be anything, whether that be tariffs or just, a higher shipment where you're going to pay more in GST or duties. Anything that's really going to push your bond utilization percentage above really the 100%. Is where you're going to want to you're going to want to take some choice to make sure that is being corrected. CBSA is going to notify you at 75% of your utilization, and they will give you recommendations. As far as I understand, the recommendations are to either prepay, so you can put a certain amount down to ensure that you're reducing that utilization to below the 75%. Or if you believe this is going to be a continuous issue, and whether it is the tariffs and you don't think they're going away, or your business has grown substantially and you have that much more in duties and taxes per month, then it may be a better choice to get an increase on your bond.
Great. Thanks, Denise, for the question, and thanks for that information, Sarah. Okay, we're a little bit of a standstill on questions coming in. Sarah, is there anything else you can think of?
I don't know how many we have new versus people that have maybe attended last week's, but how about I can take over here. Okay. So some of the other questions that we have gotten is how to apply for a bond. And so there are a couple options. And again, it's really going to depend on what your bond requirement is. So if your calculated security requirement is pretty low, you may choose to post just a cash bond. I just want to make sure you understand that when you post a cash bond, you have to post the 100% at least. You can post as much as you want, but you'd have to post at least that 100% of what they've noted here. And if things like tariffs are going to affect you, then you're going to need to consider that as well as the amount that you're posting. If your month to month is very different and it fluctuates and it's getting to be a lot higher than that, you may constantly be asked to up your cash bond. And at that point, you may want to consider a different option. The main option then being obtaining a written security agreement through a surety company. And you can go directly to a surety company. There's a list of surety companies online, pretty easy to find. Or GHY can assist you. If you're a client of ours, just reach out to us and we're here to help. We can apply for it on your behalf, and then it will be posted onto your portal for you. Before I go on, I think there's a question.
Yes, that's great, Sarah. Yes, I will grab the live question first and foremost here. Catherine, did you want to go ahead and turn your mic on and ask your question? Let's see here. Sorry, Catherine. Try again. I just allowed your mic to be turned on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If I remember correctly, on our last session, Al posted a $5. He wanted his security bond. He tried the $5. How did that go? Have we heard back
It's,
from?
yeah, it's still sitting there. So good question. So what Al did was, or what I did for Al is in here, if you go and log into your portal, you should see a little pencil here, and that's your edit button. That means if you have decided that for some reason this calculation is not accurate, whether it's because perhaps you imported one very large shipment in 1 month, but typically your shipments are quite a bit lower and you don't want to post that much, you can request a reduction. And you would just hit the edit button, and you basically are just opening a case with CBSA. So as you can see here, it says in progress. So we are still awaiting CBSA to respond to us. And then we would go up into notifications. Here is where they would respond to us. So as we can see here, that the status change has been updated to in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Catherine, for your question. Okay, I'll jump over into the chat Q&A here. And I'm just going to share my screen real quick. And Sarah, you might have to reshare after this question. So can you elaborate on the notifications in CARM, specifically the release submission notifications?
The release specific notifications make no sense to me. This is an accounting software system, so it's about the final accounting of your goods. But you receive a notification every time your broker clears a shipment for you. So it's really just a notification letting you know that you've had a shipment that has been input or imported into Canada.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that, Sarah. Okay, we've got one in from Ivan here. I am trying to log into CARM, but it tells me that I am already registered. I may have registered under another email because I get notifications under that specific email. But when I try to log in, it gives me an error and I am stuck in a circle. What is the best number to call to straighten this out?
Great question. And trust me, you are not alone in this. So a lot of people did sign up in, say 2021 when you were told to, and are now trying to figure out how to get in. So the most likely the problem is that your account has been deactivated, or technically like the GC key has been revoked. Um, I'm not too sure why you're just kind of stuck, like it's swirling. That's not common. Usually it just gives you a screen and says that that has been revoked. But if you're unable to figure out what the password is, that might be your issue. The best thing to do would be to call the CARM hotline, and I'll get Maria to provide that after. So you can call that hotline, but if you're finding you're not getting through at all and you're sitting on hold, there's also a ticket center, and they're really the same place. One's just speaking to a person who's going to create a ticket for you. If it's really small, they might be able to help, but for the most part, they create a ticket. Or the ticket center, you create your own ticket and then you just keep an eye, like they'll respond to you when it's your turn, and they'll come up to you and ask you what is, like, they'll ask for more details on what your ticket is and then support you through it.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. We've got a question here from forgive me for if I mispronounce your name, Zlatka. The question is, and I'm not sure if you want to elaborate on this, but I have a question about reducing the bond requirement. So, Sarah, can you answer just from that information? Oh, just 1 second here. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, did you want to just raise your hand? When you raise your hand, I can locate you a little bit easier here, and then I can, there we go. Perfect. Okay, give me 1 second here. There we go. Go ahead.
I think you have to unmute yourself on your end too.
Yeah, you'll just have to unmute
Yes,
there,
now
there we
it
There we
go.
are.
works.
Apologies.
Thank you so much. Well, as you were explaining how to reduce the financial security requested by customs, I logged in, I clicked on the little pencil, and a window opened, um, requiring to update. There is asterisk with a little window, updated requirement, and the only option I have is to enter a number.
Mhm.
I was under the impression that there is a text window where I can explain what I'm trying to accomplish, or it's not the case.
No, you're just starting a ticket. So
Oh,
you just provide them what you want as a reduction, and then CBSA will open a case. So
okay.
like Al's is right now in progress. They will then reach out to him and ask, what is the purpose to the reduction? Do you have proof of why? That kind of thing. And that gives you the opportunity then to supply any supporting documentation to prove why you want that reduction.
Okay, so I will just go ahead, enter the number, click submit. They will open a case and we will start the interaction, right?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. I have many questions. I have more questions. My next question is about the notifications. So my colleague Lisa Terziner has been very diligent in going through this notification and reading and trying to figure out whether it's a legitimate notification or not legitimate notification. Most of them are not legitimate. We do not have the ability to delete the ones that have been reviewed. What is the effective way to ask customs to discontinue sending these midterm notifications? Like, for instance, the unit of measure is accurate or missing unit of measure, and this notification is sent at the time of the release.
So
Right, Lisa? Lisa, hop and correct me if I'm not summarizing this accurately.
so I'll go to the unit of measure one. That is a known error on CBSA's end. I'm not too sure why anyone's receiving notifications like that. There's nothing wrong with the entry, so we're not really sure. So that's a known issue, and they are supposed to be addressing. But I recommend that you file tickets with CBSA explaining your displeasure or your need for better notifications, because I think that you're not alone. Everybody, I think, is struggling through notifications. If this is going to be the way that CBSA is going to communicate with you as importers, then you should be able to go in there and understand what's going on your account. And the notifications have been, for one, I find very vague. And two, you're getting a lot of notifications that really are not going to support what you need. And three, you have absolutely no ability to run a report. So you can't even review and pull apart what might be relevant versus unrelevant. And if you think you get a lot of notifications, brokers get them for every importer. So it's been a continuous struggle on how can we support everyone in ensuring you're seeing those notifications. So honestly, I say continue to file tickets with CBSA and say, I need these notifications to be removed. I want to be able to close notifications once I've actioned them. I want to be able to run reports, that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. So you guys are addressing these notifications issues, and we as importers of record should be also voicing our dissatisfaction, and hopefully CBSA will hear us.
Hopefully, yes.
And
That's the best way for us to get enhancements on the CARM client portal is these suggestions, right? The more we can
Yeah.
suggest things to help improve it, the more
Yeah.
and the more the same kind of suggestions come in, the more likely we are to be able to get some support there.
Understood. Is there any plan? Does CARM has any plans to allow blanket post-entry valuation adjustments?
No.
Currently, those are processed one by one.
So there is no such thing as the blanket process moving forward because CBSA deemed that that was not sufficient information to properly correct every entry. So that's why there has been a change now. They are reviewing the process that they created. They had created a process, but it didn't necessarily meet standards when it was being tested. I don't know where they're at with what is to come. They have not stated anything since they kind of backtracked that setup that they did. So we're still waiting to hear what could come out. We're hoping for some form of ability to mass fix, but we haven't heard of anything.
Yeah, probably instead of blanket, this is the right term, mass adjustments instead of one by one, because on our end, it is very inefficient way to do those, right?
Absolutely. Zlatka, thank you for your questions.
Thank you. I will stop. Yes, that's it. I can ask questions about CARM all the time.
all day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
like most
Thank you so
people.
much.
Thank you. So we have just a couple minutes left. Want to get to the next few that have come in. We've got one more from James here, and then two more. So has CARM CBSA indicated that will at least start to include the RM when they use the pad? At the moment, it just says Canada on our bank statement, and we are left scrambling to figure out what the RM number belongs to.
I don't know if that's been sent to CBSA. So again, I would recommend filing a ticket with CBSA advising that the pad does not provide a sufficient detail to be able to properly link it back.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we've got one from Mel. I have never been able to log in since signing back up in 2021. I have had a case regarding this open since January, but have had no contact with anyone there. Do you know how or if you can escalate a ticket? Good question.
Great question. I wish I had better answers to these, but unfortunately, no. The ticket center is the only place that you can get assistance. I have clients that have had tickets open since November. And this is their majority of their ticket issues is related to either being locked out of the client portal, having their GC key revoked, all the BAMs have left and they don't know how to get back in, those kinds of things. So this is one of CBSA's priorities and they recognize that they need to get to these, but I recommend just reply to the ticket saying you need this actioned immediately and continue to reply.
That's a great recommendation. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, and we're just nearing the end here. Not a question, more of a comment that people should maybe know about. The notification emails do not even indicate the BN they are for. If you have more than one, it is bewildering indeed. That comes in from Amanda.
So somebody just brought it up today again in our office and was like, well, can't we recommend more information? We have countless times asked CBSA to provide more clarification to these notifications, but they state for security reasons. At this time, I do not believe that there will be any change to the way the notification comes into our email. My recommendation or suggestion, something that has worked for myself, is I've created alias accounts. So I only have one email, but I have alias emails, and each RM goes into a different mailbox automatically. So then I know which RM I need to action.
Good thinking. That's a great, solution for now. Okay, so we are at time. Want to mark this as the conclusion of our session today. We've got another one on the 26th. Be sure to register for that. We want to thank everyone again for registering, attending. We appreciate all your questions. All of them are very valuable. As a reminder, we'll be sending out a follow-up link to access the recording of the session and those other resourceful links, such as the phone number and where you can submit a ticket. So again, please reach out to us at any point. We're always here to help. Take care. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you on the 26th.
Everyone.
Goodbye.